Cool.
Cool, man. So how's the road trip? How many hours have you been driving so far?
Where are we at? We're on our. It's an 8 to 10 hour drive. We are only an hour and 13 minutes away from our destination.
Okay,
So
so
I
you've been
think
driving
like
for
seven.
6-ish hours,
Yeah,
6 to 7
6 ish, seven.
hours. How many stops so far?
We've charged twice.
This
And
this right now is your second stop
this is our
or
third.
third? Okay.
So the again, the greatest part about Tesla generally is the road trips. Like
Yeah,
I think
I know.
if there was one thing that I probably am more hyped about with the Tesla is the road trips. Me and my wife we're taking turns driving, but really it's like we're just enjoying the mellow, not actually having to drive.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
we're singing and like windows down, just enjoying the
Nice.
views, especially because we're going up to Lake Tahoe right now. It's gonna be
Yeah.
beautiful up there, and we right now. I hit a little bit of like like a drizzle, I guess you can say.
Okay.
It didn't
Like
rain,
a
but it drizzled.
scatter
But
shower
again,
here and there.
yeah, it was beautiful. Like I can't
Nice.
complain. It's the road trips on Teslas is ridiculously nice. Like yeah,
That's the thing, man. Like I feel like you're really inclined to want to go on a bunch of road trips, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's if I were driving the minivan that my wife has, I'm like, I don't want to like drive that for like 8 hours, you know. But when you're in the
yeah,
car and when you're in your Tesla self driving, like it's a no brainer. You enjoy
yeah.
it like 100 times better.
We're listening to podcasts, like
Yeah,
enjoying each other's company, actually having conversations without feeling like super. You have to pay attention to the road, but super attentive to the point where like I'm trying to figure something out, or I missed an exit, or something dumb with
yeah,
road trips. It's just that is out of sight, out of mind. So it's beautiful. It's ridiculous
yeah. I agree, man. It's the way to go for sure.
for sure.
All right, so it was a big week for sure. I think we had earnings
hmm
earnings this week. So, what were your immediate thoughts to earnings?
I I feel like Tesla is very real every earnings. I do think a lot of people feel they analyze the tone, they analyze everything, but I feel that when listening to Tesla and them having conversations about the earnings every single time, I almost feel that they're just telling us the truth. They're just going based off of what they know at the point in time that they know it, and their projections. And I felt that a lot of people were wishy-washy on how they felt about it. Like there's a lot of people that felt that they were talking negatively or felt that they were talking. I felt like there was a huge disconnect, and even with like Optimus, how they were saying like a little bit of a step back, but I don't think it was a step back. It's more that they're reiterating on the bot, just like
Yeah,
they've been reiterating on full self driving. Like they weren't gonna release it 5 years ago because it wasn't ready, and they were getting it better and better and better. And I feel like the bot might be in that same rinse cycle where literally the issue with the bot is they're going to keep finding issues or little things that they can fix, and then that's why I feel like maybe it'll get delay a little longer, but the outcome of it, Tesla will still pull through. I don't see an issue with it whatsoever. I feel like when it comes to Tesla, they say something and they just eventually they get there.
yeah,
It's not a maybe in my mind. It's more of when. So
yeah,
if you're thinking very long term like we do, I'm not even stressing about it. And they were talking about it on CNBC. Like this,
yeah.
I forgot his name, George, and he works
Fitzgerald, I
for
think.
something like that. He
Yeah,
projected to 2028, 2029, and talked about bots. Like even Wall Street is like opening up their eyes and going, "Oh, okay, like we see it. We see
yeah,
the direction that they're going. Right now is the lowest of the low in their minds when they were talking about it on there." And
yeah,
I don't see anything but an upside in the next few quarters. I know we're going to see some numbers that we are probably not going to like when it comes to car sales,
yeah.
but FSD's still doing great. Like what more do we want? Like I that's a tough one.
No, I agree, man. I feel like there was just so many thoughts that came to mind when I was listening to it, because I was also kind of like tracking the sentiment on X as I was listening to the earnings call.
Yeah,
And it just seemed so divided. It seemed like so many folks were disappointed at just how, according to them, how lethargic like the team kind of sounded. But then other folks were like, "Dude, this is awesome! Like we're making progress. Sure, it'd be nice if we can make faster progress, not only on Robotaxi. I feel like we're making pretty fast progress there, but on Optimus. So, for example,
yeah,
like Elon coming out and explicitly stating, "Hey, I'm thinking that in a few years we'll get to 100K units of Optimus per month. So that's like 1.2 per year, right? 1.2 mil." And then you
yeah. That's
start thinking to
beautiful.
yourself, I'm like, wait a minute. Literally, like, I don't know, 6 months ago, 12 months ago, we were kind of hyping up that by 2030, we might be able to produce, I forget what it was, like almost like a doubling per year starting in like 2027 or 2028. So, like, right now you get 5,000 at best here in 2025. I highly doubt, I don't think we're going to hit that. But even if we did 5,000, 50,000 in 2026, another doubling there would be 100,000 in 27, another doubling would be 200,000. And so, if you keep doubling by, when you eclipse 2030, you're getting to, at least half a million bots per year, right? 500K roughly. And
Yeah,
so that was sort of like the expectation that everybody had, was like, okay, by the end of the decade, for sure, we got to be manufacturing 500,000 per year. But now for Elon to be like, well, it might be like a fifth of that going into like the latter part of this decade. I thought, what the heck? Like, kind of a little confusing there, a little perplexing as far as, okay, how are things going? But I mean, if anything, the good that you can kind of take out of that is, hey, they're refining, they're reiterating. This is the third version of Optimus that we have yet to see. Like, we only see V2 out in the wild, in Tesla Diner, for example. Hopefully one
yeah.
of these days I can, we can take a trip out to LA and check it out. But
Maybe
um
we should. Maybe we should.
I think we should, man. It's just such a great spot to go check out. So yeah, let's go, let's try it.
Yeah, I'm
Um
down.
so so that was one thing. And then, of course, you may have seen, the short video I posted yesterday of how, like, we're just, at this point, it's beyond a doubt that we're looking at Tesla now as not an auto company. They're a
Yeah,
robotics and autonomy company. And I think, at this point we're kind of like investing in, private equity, so to speak, right? Like, you're kind of putting your money into it. You have faith not only in the CEO, you have faith in the talent that CEO has been able to recruit. You have faith in, like, the fact that they've already proven themselves from an execution standpoint. Going through Model 3 ramp, or production hell, and then getting the Model Y to being the best vehicle, not only the best EV, but best vehicle in the world, most selling vehicle in the world. And I think at the same time, you also have like a sturdy that you kind of need to continue investing, in CapEx and OpEx in your R&D and stuff as you continue to roll out these new frontiers, in AI,
yeah,
like the convergence of all these technologies, not only the large language front model or the large language model front, but the holy grail, like Jensen Wong says, right? Like the embodied AI, like you being able to take a road trip and almost not really have to think about the road. Like, obviously you're still supervising, but for the most part, like, it's an enjoyable trip, and it's not a toll on you mentally, right? So I think that's one of the key things that we're headed towards. And so I'm very confident that looking back in 2030, in hindsight, we're gonna be like, dude, 320, like, that was a steal. Not financial advice, but still, it's like, it's so crazy how emotional the market is, how misunderstood Tesla is as an investment, where we go from 302 to, what is it now, 316 or 320
it
today.
went to
Yeah, like,
322 or something
yeah.
for a bit. Like,
And it was only because of a rumor. Like, nothing has been confirmed. The only thing that came out today was that supposedly this weekend they're going to launch in San Fran. They're going to launch the Robotaxi, but nothing has been confirmed by Tesla. That rumor alone spikes up the stock to like 3-4% in a
yeah,
day. Like,
yeah.
it's just, and the one thing, sorry, I know I'm ranting and I'm
No, you're
babbling on,
good.
but the one thing that I'm really excited about, and Joe Bakti, I really like that guy. I feel like he's super analytical, and he's like very common sense, kind of like Stern Basher. He
Yeah,
was talking about how there's this forcing function, especially because I think you and I talked about it, or maybe it was a different video, but where Dan Ives pointed out that the majority of institutions, 70% of institutions, will probably not invest in Tesla until they actually see tangible financial results from these new ventures, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, initially autonomy and robotaxi. And so 75% of institutions will not yet put, meaningful investment into Tesla.
Yeah.
And so what Joe does is he analyzed, okay, well, what would be the forcing function for institutions to actually start to materially kind of see that cash flow being generated to where they have no choice but to like put their money where their mouth is. Like they're gonna have, they're almost gonna be forced to. The forcing function is how he calls it. They're gonna be forced to put money into, because they're gonna see that cash flow. They're gonna be able to plot, multiple points along the road. It's like, okay, we're in Austin. We've doubled Austin. We're going to go to 420 square miles in Austin. We're going to San Fran, potentially LA. We're going to Phoenix. We're going to, now that they mentioned Florida. And so they're going to be like, okay, all these different dot plots. I'm like, okay, we got to do it. Like, there's no way. It's almost like, almost, obviously there's risk with everything, but almost like a guaranteed return on investment, whether it's 5% or 100%, like it's still kind of like some return that's probably higher than inflation, So I feel like at that point, it's almost a no brainer for institutions to pile in,
Yeah.
is what
Uh,
he says.
the forcing function part is going to be so beautiful on the chart. Like the way it's going to look is going to be ridiculous. It's just like right before COVID, and it just
Yeah.
blew up. It it is it's almost scary how that might be the second coming of that. We're gonna
Yeah.
see some crazy stat about the numbers that Tesla's doing, the amount of rides, the amount of cities that it's in, because the fact that it's possibly going to be in San Francisco already, and they already extended the grid over in Texas. They already
Yep.
are going. They're already thinking about doing it again, hours away from everyone. Everyone keeps talking about it, that it's an hour away or something, that they saw Teslas.
Yep.
The amount of Tesla people that are just constantly trying to figure out what Tesla's doing next is just gives us a little bit of insight as to how far we're gonna get and how fast.
Yeah.
And I think I think the bot thing. I think the numbers that they're sharing out, even if it was, in my mind, even if it was a quarter of what they're talking about, no one's gonna be mass producing. No one's gonna be mass producing bots that will do everything and anything. Like
Right.
the fact that they already are doing diners with 24-hour ability.
Service.
So
Yeah.
the 24-hour service is ridiculous, because they're just premising, oh, these are all going to be ran by robots, by the way. Eventually, we're going to have a bunch of them, and this is where they're going to get their training. This is where they're going to understand how to flip burgers and serve fries and roller skate probably to your car. And that is going to be one of those things that people don't see right now. And it's almost, I love how trolly they are in their earnings call. The jokes that they
Yeah.
say, like they don't take anything serious. They don't take themselves serious, but they are a very serious company. Like the things that they're doing is seriously going to change the world. And just the amount of trolls behind Tesla is so it's so funny to me.
Yeah.
And again, it's going to be beautiful once they start opening diners and other places and being able to train the bots and showing people like, hey, McDonald's, check it out. Like our bots
Yeah.
basically run our whole play. Like they run everything. And going back to Tesla and their manufacturing powers, it's ridiculous how good they are at making the bots. If they are running into some issues, I believe it's because of that. I think it might be they're trying to make it the most efficient way to make the bot, and that's probably where most of their funding of the manufacturing, the it escaped my brain right now, but basically, I think that all their research is going into that more than
Yeah.
anything else, and then making sure that their parts last years, because that's what
Right.
people are going to want, right? They're going to want a robot that keeps up with them for a few years until they have to renew a new robot, maybe 5 to 10 or something, whatever that might be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I think that we're right there at the cusp. The fact that San Francisco's getting it, and not even that far away, probably Phoenix as well. And in less than a few months, like less than 3 months, we've already done all that. Like,
Yeah.
that's tough. That's a tough one to fight, and that's a tough one for people not to recognize. And then again, once the numbers are there, and it's everyone's forced to see the numbers. Oh, and the fact that we're gonna be able to drive unsupervised. They were saying by the end of this year or
Yeah.
the beginning of next year. I didn't. I'm cool with what it is right now, and I know some people are already like, oh, I don't like the nag, blah blah blah, but it's pretty close. If they do it this next year, I'll be really happy. Like, I wouldn't mind for people to be able to just not have to pay attention that much on the road.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like for me, my biggest preference would be significantly, at least significantly reducing the nag. Because there are times where, my commute's pretty hefty to and from work. It's about 45 minutes every, one way.
Yeah,
And for me, sometimes I would like really appreciate being able to hop on my laptop and, just connect to my hotspot and then work, like that would be ideal to be able
yeah,
to start working already and then be able to kind of say, hey, I started working like as the moment I drove off my driveway, like I
yeah,
popped open my laptop and I started working like 45 minutes before I even came into the office, so that would be ideal. Like if by the end of this year, obviously Elon time, right? Like it's notorious at this point, but if that were to be the case, especially with like the holiday update, that would be early Christmas, like
yeah.
that would be my Christmas present,
I
and
think
that would be great.
businesses are gonna have a weird time thinking about the people that are driving up to their jobs being able to log in and do their job right before they get in, and then
Yeah,
also leaving possibly even earlier because you own a Tesla. Like, that might be a really weird thing that people are gonna have an issue with at first, probably, but I think it's gonna be such a norm. Depending
yeah,
on what your commute time is, maybe you already start your job at a specific time before you get there.
right, right. I agree. Sorry, my computer kind of turned off here, but what did you think of? What did you think of? Gosh, there was so much to talk about. But like, for example, us kind of finally getting the ball rolling on an investment in XAI. For example, everybody and their mother seem to think that Tesla had already kind of been working into the proxy for the investor day in November, that they were already going to invest in XAI. But then they
Yeah,
brought up the question at the earnings call, and Elon basically said, "Well, if you want Tesla to do something, and you hold shares, then submit your request, as a shareholder,
yeah,
as a retail shareholder." And I think everybody was kind of taken by surprise that it wasn't already in the works, and
yeah,
everybody was like, "Oh shit, let's try to move fast to try to get it in before, I think the deadline is like in the next few days or something like that." But
yeah.
and it seems like, I think I saw Tesla actually post on X that they are considering it now because of the attention it brought.
Cool.
So
That's good.
yeah, I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice if it was earlier, but I guess better late than never, right?
I I almost feel that Elon doesn't want Tesla to be with XAI.
Really?
Yeah,
But
because
Elon even posted that if it were up to him, like if he could make the decision, he would have done it like a year ago or a year and a half ago.
yeah, I think a want, and I think it's a double-edged sword. I think because it's in the public and people can buy the stock and have a almost control a little bit over what Tesla does sometimes. I
Yeah.
think he always feels a little bit torn between, I want everyone to have access to these companies, but at the same time, I also don't want too much access to the point where they take over some of the projects and slow down the progress. I think with Tesla in his mind, he almost in some part of him, again, it's a double-edged sword. In some part of him, I don't think he wanted it to be public for us to dictate certain things, because he has
Yes, I
full
agree with that.
control. I feel
Yep.
like he has full control in a lot of companies, and he doesn't want us to dictate that.
I
Maybe,
agree.
maybe I'm speculating on that, but I do feel that there is always a back and forth in his mind whenever he's tweeting stuff, because he does say he wants it, but then he didn't mention it. Why didn't he mention it earlier for everyone to kind of already push that through? You know, I
Yeah.
don't know.
No, I agree. And I think Alexandra even mentioned Alexandra Mertz. I think she even mentioned that I think Elon probably dreads dealing with Tesla as a public company just because of all the like SEC regulations that they have to comply with and like just how many hurdles they have to jump over. Whereas when you're a private company, it's you have a lot more free reign, so to speak. And so
Yeah,
I think I think that that's what Elon. I think Elon definitely doesn't want a merger because if you merge the two companies, then all of a sudden there's a crap ton of regulations on XAI and its capabilities and whatever it does, right?
yeah,
But an investment like that obviously retains XAI as a private company. They can do whatever they need, whatever they, they can get investment from anybody to, kind of push forward with whatever roadmap they have.
yeah.
Um,
That would be
and
the best
still have,
situation.
yeah, and still have really good synergies with Tesla. Like right now
Yeah,
we're, starting to dip our toes with Grok in the car. I still don't have
that
it, but
that is so cool.
that's
That's
gonna be
so
cool to have.
cool. I saw people interacting with it, and I that was amazing. Just a
I'm
few clips I saw.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting it, especially with like when you have kids too. Like I use voice mode, Grok's voice mode with like the kids story time with my kids, and it's the best because like you even are super like into the story that it's telling. Like you're like, whoa, that's cool. Just the level of creativity that it has versus like me telling a boring old story to my kid. It's like it's just I hope that it helps with like the kid's imagination a little bit more. Like, whoa, it's
That's
that kind of
that's a that's a really
you know.
cool yeah, process.
So yeah, that's
I
just like
I
one use
I
case
have a
that
hard
I
time with it sometimes, just a little bit,
with
because I
Grok.
no with the
Oh,
idea of it developing things. I hope, again, I'm always again, AI has like a double-edged sword again. It's one of those things where it gives us a little bit of room to brainstorm, but then again, certain I just hope they don't get accustomed to it almost to the point where they're not using their own brains. I guess you can say they're not problem solving on their own. That's what scares me sometimes, because I do work in the school system. So
yeah,
sometimes when I see certain things that, like, when Google became more accessible, just certain aspects of breaking down information kind of went away a little bit with the kids, because
yeah,
they could just Google it. And some of them don't even know that they could just Google it, which is, I don't know why they don't know, but
yeah,
now with AI, it's even more prominent. Again, I just hope that double-edged sword. It's really cool. Like, to me, it's
yeah,
really cool, but I think it's also really cool to me because of the fact that I came from a time where it didn't exist, and my creativity just ramped up the whole time without having any technology to intervene.
yeah.
And now it's different, but it's sick. I think it's cool, and again, double-edged sword on what people are going to be able to do later.
I definitely agree that there should be, guardrails, especially when you expose kids to AI, right? I think for me, I see exposing them to like an AI reading them a story or telling them a story as like, watching some educational video or
Yeah,
something to kind of get their imagination kind of, blooming, so to speak.
yeah,
Like I definitely see my daughter when she's listening to the story, like her eyes are just wide open, like, whoa, that's cool. I didn't know like dragons could fly like that, or whatever whatever the story makes up. And so I feel
yeah,
like
yeah,
Grok, like you said, it's a double-edged sword. You don't want to rely too heavily on it to where like you're basically like numbing your brain.
yeah,
But then at the same time, like I can see a use case for me personally when it's just me in the car, where even at work, like let's say we're meeting on something like super highly technical when it comes to whatever product we're working on. Like on my way home, I can just talk to Grok and tell me and ask it, hey, tell me what this specific product is, and
yeah,
what the use cases could be, whatever it is. And so just kind of help brainstorm, kind of add another
Yeah.
edge of brainstorm. Because I think that's the saying, right? Is hopefully AI will, in essence, add IQ points to like your IQ as opposed to like
Yes.
take it away, right? So hopefully
Yeah.
you're using it as that tool rather than just kind of like a lazy asset that you have that kind of does everything for you.
Yeah, I think a thought in my brain would be when asking, let's say once I have kids, when asking Grok to write me a story or any AI program to write me a story, I think I would bring it into the approach of, but teach me this life lesson. Teach me while it's talking about the
Hmm.
story, teach me the
Yeah,
life lesson about how valuable family is. Teach me about the life lesson about how important it is to keep learning, to break down information, like give me reasons as to why I must keep trying my best to develop certain skills. And I think the kids not only will get a huge kick out of like a dragon teaching you about family, but also getting them to think about how much they appreciate certain aspects of their family. I guess you can
I
also
agree.
say that, like
Yeah,
give it that like grandma did this thing for you, and then they didn't realize how amazing that thing was, and then put it in the story, and then them like let it like click in their brain, like, oh yeah, she made me food, but whatever it might
yeah,
be.
right. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Anyway, that was a little bit of a tangent on like
Yeah,
Grok in the
yeah.
car,
Sorry,
but but
sorry.
uh but yeah, no, I mean, I think what we're going back to like just the investment in XAI. Like, I think it personally makes a lot of sense to do it, just because at some point the synergy between those two companies. I mean, Tesla already has synergies with all the companies, right? Like, I think SpaceX had a lot of influence on like the development of the first Model Y, for example, the legacy Model Y. And there's just going to be so much kind of interweaving is I think the appropriate word of all these companies, all these Musconomy companies kind of working together. And I feel like they share like the same DNA basically. And so for them to all collaborate together is just so seamless. And it will be seamless over the long term, especially with Optimus. Optimus already will have like the real world physical AI capabilities, but now with XAI, they'll have the non-physical world AI capability.
Yeah,
And so marry those two together and it's like, game set match kind of thing.
yeah,
And you have the manufacturing prowess of Tesla. What more could you ask for?
yeah. Elon hasn't talked about this in a while, but I remember for a long time he was talking about having an umbrella, basically an umbrella company or an umbrella of I guess an ETF or something of all the companies that he owns, and that
Yeah,
Tesla investors would be able to invest in it first before anything else.
that'd be cool.
That that idea was always been on the top of my head. That would be amazing to be able to do that, where I could just throw my money into a pot of all the companies, Neuralink,
Yeah,
SpaceX, all of them, which is a ridiculous amount. But the point is that they all are doing some world changing thing that I
yeah,
wish I can put my money in, because I believe in it. Like just it's amazing. All of the companies that he's doing is amazing right now, and I forgot the company name, but the one that's working with cell phones now, forgot what it's called.
T-Mobile with Starlink.
Starlink, exactly. So even
Yeah,
Starlink being able being able to walk around anywhere and still have cell phone reception, and he was saying that it would be seamless. I haven't tested it because I don't have T-Mobile, but that's going to be amazing. I,
yeah,
we would have this call. We've had these calls a few times, and it breaks down sometimes, even if we're on the road or whatever. I can
yeah,
imagine it being so much better. And if it's really good, I'm gonna move to T-Mobile. Like
yeah. I guess anecdotal evidence. Like, I have T-Mobile and I got the opportunity to try out the beta for
oh, there you go.
the Starlink beta, and it was
Yeah,
cool. I actually went on a what do they call it, team building event with my colleagues to Big Bear. And as we were kind of going up the mountain, I lost cell service, but then I saw the little satellite show up on my phone informing me that I was connected to SpaceX or Starlink's kind of satellite service. So I was like, oh, this is cool. At this point, I think you can only really just text. text or call, I believe. Like, it's not like you can, watch YouTube on it, but still, to know that like pretty much anywhere you are, for sure in the continental US, like pretty sure wherever you are, like you're covered. Like if you're in an emergency, just shoot a text and you'll get help on the way. So,
Yeah,
but it is
we're right
cool.
there.
Yeah. And that's
Everything's
the
so
thing
close.
too. Going back to what you said about I forget which what's his name, Fitzgerald, I think his name is, but basically he's the guy that's been touting for I think the last 6 to 12 months that he kind of sees Tesla as the first 20 trill market cap company. And it's funny because like you folks like you and I, obviously all the kind of OG Tesla guys, Tesla bulls, like we've kind of been indicating that, but we don't want to sound crazy, like they don't want to sound crazy yet. So they won't kind of
Yeah,
really say it. They'll be like, maybe modestly they can grow another trill. But for like actual Wall Street, investment firm to be like, yeah, no, I definitely see Tesla to potentially get there. It's like, dude, so we're not that crazy, like it's just a matter of execution. It's a matter of time. Obviously it's gonna be a slow ramp, but eventually once we start ramping, like it's exponential.
there we go.
Sweet.
All right, I'll probably
Hitting
get
the
back
road
on the
again.
road. Yeah, if it starts cutting out, then we'll cut it short. But
Yeah. I'll keep talking if I have to. But
um, no, yeah,
so
I the fact that we we will sound crazy, and I feel like when I have these conversations with my dad, sometimes he looks at me that like I'm talking gibberish. He doesn't get it.
yeah.
I want him to get it because I would love for everyone to understand what I'm looking at, so that way they almost feel that haste of wanting to invest in Tesla. But again, not financial advice, and everyone has their own opinions and their own thought processes. But when I was talking about the 24-hour diner with my dad, he thought that it was amazing, but he also thought that there's no way that they're going to be able to do everything. And again, from what we've seen, we see the possibility. We see it possibly making a difference of diners and the robots just taking care of everything. But he doesn't. Like again, that's a lot of people though.
And I think there's always going to be that sense of disbelief, like going back to I forget his name. I should know his name, but going back to the Wall Street analyst that
Oh,
basically
George.
says George, right? And he was like, people will very likely mistaken Tesla like they did with Amazon selling books. Like they thought they were always going to sell books, or with Apple only selling computers. Like that was a mistake. Or with Nvidia only being a gaming company. That was a mistake. And so basically he's kind of seeing the same sort of like development with Tesla where it's like everybody thinks it's just a car company. That's a mistake. Like, I'd be willing to go out on the limb and say that that's already a mistake because of what we're seeing now. Like, for example, Optimus is literally, I mean, it's kind of slow at it, but it's literally serving people popcorn at the Tesla diner. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if 5 years from now, I mean, Elon, I think even posted that by the end of the year, it's always by the end of the year or next year, right? But he posted that at some point, like Optimus is going to be delivering your food to you in your car. It's not going to be somebody in roller skates, and I believe that. Like, if it's
I
already
would love
like,
Optimus and roller skates.
and I think he even said like a cute little outfit too. Like, of course he would.
Yeah.
Uh, that that would be the ultimate, like, the ultimate fu to like doubters is like Optimus roller skating. Like that would be sick. I don't think it will, but I think it'd be just as efficient without the roller skates. But so anyway, it's just I see it the same way, man. People are just reading, don't judge a book by its cover. People are just looking at the cover of Tesla and they're like, yeah, it's a car company. Yeah, they have a little bit of like technological prowess, but I mean, I doubt they're going to solve robotaxi. I doubt they're going to solve, you know, full scale robotics, like all these different things. It's like, all right, prove the doubters wrong. Like Elon said in the earnings call, like eventually they'll be sitting there with egg on their face, just
The
let
egg
them
on your
cook.
face is such a funny thing. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just let Tesla do its thing. And if you feel
Yeah,
some type of way, you can feel however you want to feel. But again, the forcing function is gonna make you see it regardless.
right, right.
Whether that be whether that be the forcing function of the stock moving, or visually seeing these robots do everything and visually seeing these cars do everything.
Right.
People don't. It's wild to me sometimes to think, okay, the numbers aren't being shown in a spreadsheet yet, but the cars are doing are driving by themselves without someone on the steering wheel, someone just monitoring like I am doing right now with my car,
Right.
and only a few steps away from it eventually just being without me even looking and being asleep and just being at my destination.
You know, now that you mentioned that, I remembered another thing that they brought up in the earnings call, and that was that 50% of Tesla owners have not even tried FSD once. And I think they were using like the term FSD and autopilot kind of interchangeably, but still, like, to not even try it once with all the free trials, you know, like, why? Like, I could understand you're on V12, you get the free trial, you try it, you have a bad experience, and you're scarred, and you're like, no, I'm not doing it again. But at least you tried it. You know, like,
I think
people
it's
didn't.
fear.
That's the thing. Like, I talk to like folks at work that I know have a Tesla, and I'll approach them and I'll, kind of evangelize a little bit, but I'll be like, hey, have you tried FSD on your car yet? They're like, no, I'm too scared to try it. Like, just give it a shot. Go to a parking lot that doesn't have a lot of cars. Put a pin like to the other end of the parking lot, and just let it take you. It's going to go less than 10 miles an hour. Like, it's the safest you could probably be. And so just give it a shot. Just watch the steering wheel kind of rotate itself. It'll blow you away, and you'll be like, okay, maybe instead of just dipping my toes, let me go knee deep or waist deep into the water and let it go
Yeah,
around my block or something. Like, I am shocked that more people haven't tried it. That's one thing. And then two, the fact that Tesla already has these KPIs, like they can see who and who hasn't tried it. And
yes.
and I'm like, why? I don't know, maybe it's just like my little dummy brain, but is it that hard to like encourage people to try it in a way where it's like gamified, I think is the term that's being thrown around, where it's like, hey, if
Yes.
you try it, you know, like if you
It
try
will
it,
give
you
you
get,
instinct.
yeah, like free credits that you can use to purchase things at the Tesla shop, or free supercharging, or, stuff like that. Like if you're going on a road trip and, maybe the car knows, hey, you've been driving for 50 plus miles today. Are you on a road trip? If so, if you use FSD or if you use autopilot, like, well, your next supercharge is on us or something like that, something
That sounds
basic,
good.
you know? And I
Yeah.
feel like maybe, and obviously I want to give Tesla the benefit of the doubt, but maybe they're just so like heads down on like the technological side of things, where they need to make sure that everything is almost close to perfect slash flawless when it comes to like the Robotaxi launch. Of course, FSD kind of being the best, because they pretty much bet the farm on FSD, on autonomy, right? So like, there's no more car sales. Like, I think Elon has kind of let that train leave the station. He's like, yeah, car sales are great, and of course that still kind of funds our ventures going forward. But right now, I'm like full steam ahead on autonomy and
Yeah.
robotics. And so it's like, maybe that's just the case. They're just too focused on executing on the tech, and not enough emphasis. And maybe they just don't have the manpower, but not enough emphasis on like making people fall in love with the product, because it's like so easy to fall in love with it. Once
And
you try it.
and I feel like some people, maybe they're being a little cautious. Maybe it's just like the baby steps in Texas, and possibly gonna be more baby steps in San Fran. But I
Yeah.
think it might be that where in their mind they 50% is still a large audience. Even though that 50% is millions of people still knowing that FSD exists, which is
Yeah.
beautiful. And in my mind, it's one of those things where maybe you're right. I think you're right where they are heads down in the weeds trying to make sure that this amazing product becomes even more amazing. But I also think that it has something to do with how cautious Tesla is with everything, and safety is their biggest priority. So maybe
Mhm.
for them it's 50% of people don't know. Well, that's okay, because that lowers the dangerous, I guess, the danger of of full self driving, but it's drizzling again and it's driving fine to me. Like I don't see it doing anything wrong.
Yeah,
Again, it's baby steps. It's possibly gamifying a lot of those little details that Tesla. I think the more full self driving becomes apparent in the cities, in the bigger cities, it'll be tougher for them to say no.
I agree.
Especially
Agree.
if like the kids are taking it, possibly. You know, the younger crowd is always going to go faster to the new technology. So for the older crowd who's more afraid of the car driving itself, I think it'll be a year or something, and it'll just be one of those things where, do you know what TikTok is? No? Oh, well, this is what it is. Like, how did you not know? And then now you have like grandma on TikTok's doom scrolling. It'll be very similar in the sense that instead of doom scrolling, the kid's gonna go up to them and go, "Oh, do you know what? Do you know that the car drives itself and it's cheaper than owning a car? Why would I own a car?" And then
Exactly.
grandma would just give up the car and be like, "You know what? You're right. I'm paying whatever amount on this car. I'm gonna pay it off and sell it and be done with it, and then have the car drive itself forever. Done."
Yeah. And that's the thing too is I feel like, and this is just my speculation, but I feel like Elon kind of has heartburn when it comes to these quote unquote more affordable models on the roadmap.
Yeah.
And I think that if I remember from Walter Isaacson's book, I think that like the Tesla team had trouble convincing Elon to continue with both the kind of the cybercab inspired design to where it has no steering wheel or pedals, and then also kind of like a more compact vehicle that is, you know, more for the masses, right? And
Yeah.
I think Elon was like very anti, like, why do we need a more affordable vehicle if the cybercab, if the robotaxi will finally kind of be the choice for folks that are kind of like maybe a little more low income, and they're the ones that kind of would appreciate being able to kind of pay a flat fee every single month and
Yep.
drive however many miles they need to get to work, to get to school, to get to church, to get to the grocery store, to the gym,
Appointment.
whatever. Yeah. And they don't have to worry about car registrations, gas, maintenance, and, you know, everything that just
They don't have to.
comes
They don't
with.
have to worry about being good at driving.
Right. Right. Because like I think the way Elon thinks about it is, yeah, the sticker price might be like 28, $30,000 for a more quote unquote affordable vehicle, but then you still got to pay like $800 in registration a year. You still got to, you know, do a little bit of maintenance here and there. Insurance is not cheap, you know, especially on EVs. It's like it's everything total cost at the end of the day that is what makes it impractical
Yep.
to continue to kind of, you know, pedal to the metal, so to speak, pursue on the roadmap when it's like, hey, let's give the masses an option for like more affordable transportation that they don't have to worry about maintaining, you know?
And it could be an out of sight, out of mind for a lot of those people later. And I also think that any and I have this flaw. I think ever since I was young, I feel like my projections of life have been so far into the future every single time, which makes me almost feel like something that I'm doing right now is pointless.
Yeah.
And I think Elon suffers from the same thing where they are trying to convince him to do these things, but Elon's thinking so far into the future that he goes,
Yep.
but that's pointless. Why would we even focus on that if what matters is what is in the future? AKA, that's
Yeah.
the same thing how I felt in certain, like, there's certain classes I've taken where I'm just going, this is not going to matter in a few years, so why would I take this class?
Right.
Why are we
Yeah.
wasting time on
Waste of
things
time.
that we might not be using? And
Right.
again, I have like there's no shade to any of those situations, but it's the same thing in this situation where what's the point of focusing so much on the cars when we know that they're going to be driving themselves and no one's going to want to buy them other than people who are probably investing in it, kind of like like buying a rental. It'll be those people who are willing to spend the money on doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think about that because I feel like Elon does somehow have the foresight to kind of see 5 to 10 years out.
Yep.
And and just know that, hey, 10 years from now, like a lot of legacy OEMs are going to be out of business potentially, just because as we transition to more sustainable energy, EVs are going to become a big part of that. And I think that the lower that ICE vehicle sells, or kind of the lower volume they sell, the more expensive they're going to become. Just because it's like, hey, legacy OEMs are going to be stuck in between a rock and a hard place where if they want to sell more vehicles, they got to lower their prices, and then they'll either start losing more money on EVs, which they're already losing money on today, or they're going to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze their margins, which are already pretty thin on their kind of legacy business, which is selling ICE vehicles, right? And so at some point, that business model is unsustainable, and so they're kind of like gone. And then then there won't be very many options for folks to to purchase a more kind of low cost vehicle. So then you start kind of looking at Tesla, and it's like, oh shoot, they're kind of starting to look a little bit more monopolistic, so to speak, of like they're the only ones that you can buy a car from. But then ideally it's like, hey, yeah, you might be able to buy a car from us, but we're also offering a very inexpensive transportation service for those that don't really want to buy a car. Like they can just kind of subscribe on a monthly basis or pay per mile or whatever. But then there are these other options like the Zeekrs of the world, the Waymos of the world, whatever. Hopefully, there is more competition on that front, because competition I think is good in this sector. And so it's a matter of, hey, we're just offering an option. We don't want to be kind of the only car that you can buy, but we also want to be the one of the players, the main players that offer this sort of inexpensive, very safe, very reliable transportation. And you don't have to deal with a driver. You don't have to deal with Uber or whatever. It's like your own kind of like personal virtual chauffeur, right?
It's gonna be such an interesting time when the flip happens. And the reason I say it's gonna be interesting only because back in the day, before Uber, before Lyft, having a personal driver sounded like such a bougie thing. Like you have
Yeah.
to be a millionaire to be able to have like a personal driver, right? And now it's gonna be like the bougie thing will be owning your vehicle. Like you
Yep.
personally owning a vehicle will be the new like rich that you would only own is because almost for some people it might be even a status thing where like I own a car and I park it in my
Mhm.
driveway. Like like that might it's almost as if it was the same situation with like seafood boils and how seafood boils were for peasants and now we all pay a crazy amount of money for some crab boil. It's the exact
Interesting.
same thing.
Yeah.
Like it something that seemed that was for low class people who don't have a lot of money is gonna get flipped on its head. That's
Yeah.
gonna be a really interesting thing. Our kids, or maybe even our kids are gonna look at people that own cars as like, wow, you have money. That's amazing. Like, good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like owning a collectible, right? Like you're gonna own, or even horses, right? Like I personally see someone that owns a horse of like, wow, you must have like the disposable income to kind of want to take care of a horse, right? Like it's not just
Yeah.
like you just let it kind of play in the yard. Like you have to maintain, really care for a horse. But I feel like that is the
And
case,
time.
definitely. Yeah.
And time. Disposable income and time, because you're not only owning the horse, you're taking care of it and paying for
Yeah.
everything.
Yep.
It's the same
Exactly.
thing with the car. Like going to the DMV, registering your car, like those moments in time, like getting your driver's license. You're
Yeah.
not we're not getting that back. Like the hours of
Right.
waiting for a driver's license, we're not getting that back. It's not happening.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think I told you already in a past video, but I'm fully convinced that my kids, your kids are definitely our grandkids, but like they're not gonna have to learn how to drive. Like they will be driven by a driverless vehicle to and from anywhere they go, you
Yeah.
know? And I think we stated it last time where I think parents in like the Bay Area, they're already really comfortable with Waymo taking their kids to and from practice or something, to where they'll
Yep.
send their kids by themselves in a Waymo anywhere. And so I think that that's going to become the new norm in a decade. Is like
Yeah. And
kids aren't going to need to learn.
Waymo's a little pricey comparable
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Lyft and Uber, but they're picking safety over the cost, which
Right.
shows that if Tesla's cheap, even cheaper than all of them, what's going to happen then? It's going to be a huge ripple effect of people are not going to want to take any of them, because why would I pay more for Waymo when there's no one in the car when I could pay way less for Tesla when there's no one in the car? Also,
Yeah.
I saw, like, I've been seeing like videos of random car situations where like a Lyft driver will follow a girl home, and like I'm not gonna let my kid go in a stranger's car and then them possibly follow them home. But
Hmm.
if it's a Tesla, I don't, the amount of autonomy the kid's gonna be able to have as a child. Oh, I'm going to the store. Okay, what store? It's like a 30-minute drive. I'll be right back. Okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be less worried about it because he's literally go. They are literally going to take the car and go, and I'll see them
Yeah.
in a bit.
Yep.
Honestly, Tesla would have been my mom's worst nightmare for me, because I would have taken off. I would have been in LA. I would have been in a different city.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I'll see you in a few days because I can. Like,
Yeah. That's a trip. That's a trip to think about, actually. Like, obviously parents will still have the authority, but
for sure.
I feel like the kids, like, they're gonna have a lot more free reign. Like, I remember being very selective when I was a kid of asking my parents to take me to and from places. I'm like, is it really worth asking my parents this time? Because the next time I really want to go somewhere, they'll be like, hey, I already took you like to X amount of places this week or whatever. Like, I'm not taking you.
Yeah,
So,
parents get tired.
but yeah,
Like,
but yeah, man, it's just, I feel like we finally crossed that inflection point where just Tesla has proven, and the market knows it. Like, the market does not care about deliveries. The market does not care about car sales anymore. The market, thankfully, has woken up enough to where they're intelligent enough to know, hey, really, a lot of the equity in Tesla right now, of course, is Elon. So that's key man risk right there. But Elon is kind of the main reasons that institutions stay invested. Of course, you and I stay invested because we know the mission. We know that they can execute with or without Elon. With Elon, probably a little faster, without maybe slower.
yeah,
But institutions are waking up to, like, hey, yeah, they had a shitty earnings. The day after their earnings call, dropped 10%. We've made up, half of that back now. We're back, from 330, went down to 302. Now we're back at 316. We were at 320. So it's like literally within 24 hours, we had this massive swing, but we're almost kind of back to where we were. And so the market already understands that. Like, they're like, hey, Elon is the guy driving the ship, and it seems like they're continuing to execute, and it seems like they're continuing to expand. They're doing what they said they would. They're growing the service area in Austin. They're now expanding to different states. They just mentioned Florida in the earnings call, which they had never mentioned before. And so it's just a matter of, like, hey, the technology has already proven itself. Like, you and I drive FSD, you're driving it right now as we speak. Like, it's already
yeah,
proven itself. Two, they've already proven themselves from a scaling standpoint. So technology, check. Scale, check. They can mass produce these, couple million units a year, couple million Model Ys a year. And then now, two, it's just a matter of kind of reaffirming, like, without a shadow of a doubt, the safety aspect of a self-driving vehicle. You and I both know it's safer for us to use FSD than it is to not, right? Like, when you
yes.
have the 360 view versus just kind of like a 90, maybe 100 and 45-degree view,
Mile
you
to
have a,
much. I
and
can't look
so,
both ways if I wanted to.
right. And I think, let's see, how many miles are we? What was the stat that Tesla recently posted? It was like 1 mile per every, or one accident per every like 6 million miles or something like that. I forget what the 1 to 10 ratio was, I believe. And so it's like, and we've already driven like 5.5 billion miles of FSD or something like that. And so I remember way back in the day, Elon stated that about 6-ish billion miles is kind of like the threshold to kind of really prove that that technology is ready for prime time. And I think we're almost there.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we're kind of there already. It's just a little bit more of, hey, validation from regulators. Like, I don't think that's even going to be an issue, but validation from regulators. Someone else says on the regulation front, like, if there is no law restricting it, if there is no law around like AVs, it's permitted, like, it's legal. So, like, Tesla doesn't really have to worry a tremendous amount of regulation. Sure, it'd be fine to kind of have like a full federal framework, but for the most part, if each state is kind of like not saying you can't do it, then they can do it, you know? And so I think from that standpoint, it's like, okay. And actually, now that I'm mentioning that, Tesla is now basically doing what ARK Invest kind of recommended a long time ago they do, which is launch the Robotaxi service with a driver just monitoring it. So not the safety monitor, but the actual
Yeah,
driver.
true.
You know?
That is
Like they
true.
said, hey, we think you should launch it already. Like you already have the technology. You know, it's
That was
already
like a
proven to be.
year or two ago.
It was a couple of years ago. And there, I remember Tasha
Yeah,
Keeney saying that. She was like, hey, we think they should already launch it. Like, they don't need like a driverless, they don't need to wait for the Robotaxi to be driverless. Just launch it now, you know, maybe several thousand cars or whatever. And, you know, just have a Tesla employee in the driver's seat, just monitoring, making sure nothing goes wrong. Cause, you know, it's basically like you and I kind of using FSD right now. And, you know, that'll
yeah.
continue to kind of one, generate a little bit of cash flow, and two, continue to prove that the technology is ready for prime time, you know? So
I completely
I
forgot about ARK Invest talking about that.
yeah, a
Because
couple of years
right now,
ago.
when you mentioned that, I remember. Now I remember that they did talk about that. It's not that wasn't even that long ago, but even yeah, that's amazing. Going back to one small thing, we've
Yeah.
seen worse swings after a
Oh yeah,
earnings, and exactly what you said. They know now because if they didn't know, we would have been at 250. We would have been at
for
like
sure. Easily.
two something like, and honestly, horrible thought, but I was waiting on it. I was like, maybe they don't get it yet, and I
Yeah.
can milk it some more. I can convince my wife to let me sell an organ and buy some more. Like, but
Yeah.
it wasn't the case, and I saw it and I was like, that ain't even that big a deal. Why are people complaining? Like, it's really it
Right.
went down. It could have gone down another $30, and I
Honestly, I personally was kind of salivating a little bit. Yeah, yeah, I was kind of salivating a little bit at the prospect of potentially buying a dip. And even though we did get that 10% dip, I was like, you know, I don't like to kind of time it, but I'm like, oh, you know, if we go down a little bit more, kind of go heavy, you know. But it's starting to seem, and we've mentioned this already in the, you know, in several videos. I think it's starting to seem that 300 is kind of the new flourish. You know, like every time I think it's gonna go right through, and sometimes I think it has, but then it kind of just bounces right back up to around 300. And it seems like, despite the
yeah,
news, you
in
know, yeah, and
in
despite
less than a
like
few.
exactly. Exactly. So I think that's reassuring. Obviously, you know, I wouldn't mind another dip to kind of, you know, lower the cost basis, or, you know, keep a low cost basis. But but still it's like, okay, cool. Well, on the bright side, like you and I have been accumulating for years. So it's like, okay, well, it seems like our initial investment from way back when, you know, when we were in the 250s, low 200s, that's still kind of
Yeah,
like good.
yeah,
And it's like, okay, maybe now this is kind of the new flourish, dollar cost average. And then, you know, hopefully 2 years from
yeah.
now, we're at 500, 700, you know, potentially even 1,000. A lot of folks are saying maybe 1,000 by next middle of next year. And I'm like, it's a little aggressive, you know, but I don't, who knows?
I,
Maybe Wall Street does wake up to it.
if the numbers if the numbers start reflecting on the balance sheet, it is very possible they freak out a little bit and it springboards up. And even Kathy Wood is buying the dip. Like, she's been buying hand over fist on Tesla recently, and I love
Yeah.
seeing people tweeting about it. But again, it's one of those things where if they see the numbers is when they'll start plugging things in. And
Yeah.
if they see not only just the numbers, but the amount, the speed at which we are spreading around the US, that might
Mhm.
also be a catalyst as well. Like, those two things might show up in the balance sheet next quarter or the quarter after, and that might just freak everyone out and it come up. Yeah, I, it sounds crazy. Maybe I'm hopeful, but 1,000
Yeah.
doesn't seem that far off next.
Yeah. I
I don't know
think,
about middle. I don't know.
yeah. It's so hard to time it. Like, I think there's a difference between
Oh,
like what Wall Street will dictate it is, but then there's also like the fair value, right? Like Joe Bacti, I go back to him. I really like his analysis as well. Him and CERN, like I said, I'm beating a dead horse, but both of those guys, I like their analysis. Joe Bacti says my fair value estimate for the end of the year. I think today or yesterday with Herbert, he said it was like 700-ish. Fair value. That doesn't mean that the price will be 700, but it's more so like doing a 10-year discounted cash flow analysis. Like it should be at about 700. Should, in 10 years, kind of Tesla be executing on X amount of, robotaxis, et cetera, price per mile, whatever. And so I'm thinking, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But at what point does Wall Street actually identify that? Because it's the longer it takes Wall Street, the more loaded the spring becomes, right? Like it's gonna become more spring loaded, and the more delay, like the more violent the upside will be when they actually start seeing meaningful
Yeah,
numbers on the P&L. You know?
yeah. That's when people are gonna line up hand and fist to buy Tesla stock, and
Yeah,
we're just gonna look at it like that's cool. We'll wait. We'll see
yeah,
if things change, then we'll come back. But I think again, it's one of those things where if you've been investing in the stock long enough, you know not to
yeah,
jump in when it's freaking out. You're like,
100%.
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
I don't believe this.
yeah, yeah. And actually, going back to what you said about Kathy Wood, I because she is a fund, I just whenever I do see that they buy or sell Tesla, like I don't know. I feel like it just doesn't register with me because of the fact that they're always trying to keep their allocation at around like 10% of their fund or whatever. And I feel
Yeah,
like every other stock for the most part is like close to all-time highs. And the only one that isn't is like Tesla. And so they're currently underweight on Tesla in their fund. So they kind of have to keep buying to kind of get their weighting back up to that 10 percentage. I think that's kind of like my napkin math as to why she's buying more so than it's an indication or a signal of like, oh, they must know something. So, we they're buying so much that something's about to happen. I feel like it's more Tesla
yeah,
stock has been hammered so much that they're just kind of trying to make up that gap of, hey, all the other, assets in their bag are, have risen in price. So we got to get Tesla to a similar amount.
yeah. I think you're right on that, and I think the reason I am so maybe it's a nostalgia type feeling in
Yeah.
my brain where she said these numbers and she comes in every so often and people go, well, Kathy Wood said this much this
Right.
year,
Right.
and in my brain, and I'm just like, that was such a beautiful time when it all broke
Yeah.
out and like everyone was like super happy that it was happening. So every time she buys, it's not necessarily, again, like you said, it's not a signal per se, but more of
Right.
a that's really cool that she still like thinks of Tesla as this huge thing. And
100.
I'm sure some of them who don't run the Tesla stuff are probably again buying hand over fist and not saying anything about it and just
Yeah.
so
No, and I think,
yeah,
and maybe I'm being too harsh because like it could be signal in the sense that they could potentially like, turn down their allocation to Tesla, right? Like if they kind of see, maybe they're not going to execute as soon as we thought, let's turn down the allocation and then turn it up on other names, that they have in their fund. But it could be signal that they're like, hey, no, we're still just as bullish as we were 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, whatever. We're going to keep the allocation at what it is, 10% or 12% or whatever it is. And
yeah,
so it could be signal that, hey, they remain the same amount of bullish that they have been for months and quarters. And so it's just a matter of, hey, that's probably the signal, that
yeah,
they're not dialing it back. So
yeah.
um
And there's people talking about Tesla hitting 469 or something, going past that during summertime, blah blah blah, and that would be cool if it does. But I think they also mentioned that after it breaks out, it's going to come back down to 400s again. And if that happens, that'd be great. But maybe Kathy Wood is also having that same feeling, and then we'll sell around 469, and then jump back in when it comes back down or something. I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
think it's all
That's
it's
a
all
like
about the rebalancing,
yeah,
right? Like if Tesla does have kind of like that violent you know, uh violent kind of rocket to the moon, so to speak, then and all the other stocks kind of stay relatively flat, then yeah, there's going to be a rebalancing where they have to sell a little bit of Tesla because it's probably like now at 15% of the total fund. So they have to kind of like trim that down.
yeah.
So yeah,
Take
yeah.
their win. Take their win.
take their win, put it in the other kind of not winners, but then at the same time, like their overall bullishness stays the same, regardless of their trimming. Like if you and I had our own kind of pie of fun of investments, Nvidia, Bitcoin, Tesla, whatever, sometimes we rebalance it, right? So,
Yeah, where it
but
needs to
I
be.
think right.
Yeah,
But I think if you're all in Tesla, which I'm sure many folks are, I don't think there's any rebalancing. You just keep piling in.
yeah, yeah.
You
I
just try to find
I
cash.
in the last few years, I have not bought anything other than Tesla, so I get it when people don't want to do anything else. I have some
Yeah,
losers in there that I'm just like, if I ever decide to sell some Tesla stock, I'm just gonna sell some of those losers, and then
yeah,
recoup some of my losses with the tax write off. But
yeah,
again, it's
yeah,
one of those things where, do I want to sell them right now? No, because I don't think I want to sell anytime soon. There would be no point in doing that. If it hits 1,000, maybe I'll set. Like I've told my wife, maybe I'll sell a few shares just to cut, just so we can do a down payment on something and not worry about it anymore, and not have to worry
yeah,
about certain things. But other than that, I don't want to sell. Like I don't,
yeah,
I don't see myself wanting to sell any. I don't want to sell at all. If
yeah,
I can fight it, if I can fight,
yeah. I think
yeah,
there will be, especially if the value of Tesla kind of rises to like a very meaningful amount, 1,000, 2,000 plus or whatever. There are various ways where you can tap into your equity without having to sell it. Whether it's like not a margin loan, but just kind of like a loan through a bank where you collateralize the loan with your Tesla investment. Like
yeah,
let's just say, I'm using simple numbers, but you have $1 million of Tesla stock. You want to be able to kind of tap into 100,000 or 10% of it. It's like, hey, I
yeah,
want to tap into 10%. Bank, can you kind of do this for me? Here's $1 million that I'm collateralizing with it. So like, there's little risk for you. Like if I lose the 100K, like you can still kind of tap into my remaining 900 or whatever, right? So
yeah,
that's one way. Another way that I know people do it, and I think this is the way that I'm considering it doing it, just because I've been learning so much about it. But like utilizing options to kind of like take advantage of premiums to kind of fund your life rather than tapping into your stock. So like selling covered calls or cash secured puts or something like that, like depending on whatever the market sentiment is. Like if we're kind of like at a lull with Tesla and we don't expect like this massive run up, then maybe like a covered call might be, but you're still kind of bullish that it's going to be kind of range bound. Maybe like a
yeah,
covered call might be the way to go, because like you get that premium when you sell that call, and you still, if the stock doesn't go above whatever strike price, like let's just say, right now it's at 316. If it doesn't go above 350 by the end of the month or the next couple weeks, then one, you keep the premium, which is straight up cash, and then two, you retain your 100 shares of stock of
yeah,
Tesla stock. So it's like a win-win. And if it does run up, then it's like, okay, well, you kept the premium, you lose out on the shares if somebody were to exercise that option, but then at least you have other shares that kind of experience that run up as well, right? So
yeah,
it's almost a win-win-ish. Obviously, there's still risk with that, not financial advice, but
yeah.
different strategies out there.
Yeah, I think a lot of the loan stuff is gonna be so much more feasible once
Yeah,
Tesla hits certain numbers and just stays pretty, like it won't move as much. I think right
right.
now with the whole, oh, it went down $30, I think that it's more sketchy to do anything right now. But once
Oh, 100%.
once everything's ramped, once everything, like once they stop thinking of new ways to make the valuation come up, then it stays at a steady flow, like Amazon, Apple, and all the other brands that have gotten to their peaks and just are chilling. I
Yeah.
feel like that's going to be the greatest time to do um, any of those, getting your money without having to take your money out.
Yeah, I
Again,
agree.
not financial advice, of course, but it's one of those things where you only want to do, you want to cover your butt every way
100%.
possible, because
And I mean, that's how the billionaires do it, right? Like they have so much
yeah,
equity and they take out loans on it, and that's how they really don't end up paying taxes, because they're living off the loans that are collateralized by the equity they hold in whatever company. And so it's like
Yeah.
that's how they game the system, you know. And it's not illegal. Like you and I could do it too. It's just a matter of having equity in whatever, you know, whatever company, and that's the
How
key.
do you how do you feel about the possibility of all these things executing so well to the point where money is meaningless?
Yeah, I ponder that a lot, and
That freaks me out a little bit.
yeah,
And only because
it
I've worked so hard to do what I'm doing now, and for it
yeah.
to become like for it to be pointless at some point and and money be so easily accessible that I go, why did I waste so much time investing when I knew they were gonna execute so well, and now like I can buy whatever I want without worrying about money. Is that
So
freaky to
here,
you a little bit?
it definitely is. It definitely is. And whenever I started thinking about it, like I go deep down a mental rabbit hole. So here's how I kind of think about it. Like obviously I do understand Elon is like at some point, what does money even mean when you kind of have like all your necessities just provided
Yeah,
free of cost, right? And I think of like the different things that we take for granted now. Like obviously there's no fee on the oxygen we breathe. For the most part, like a lot of things that we used to kind of pay for, like text messaging, for example, or a call, like international calls, like that's free, right? Like, but what
yeah,
did that take? That took building out the infrastructure for that to be, you know, for you to get to an economies of scale to where it just has to be free. There's no point in charging because nobody would pay. They would just go to a competitor that isn't charging. And then your
yeah,
cost to build that, you know, to maintain that infrastructure is like so low because of the economies of scale that it's like it has to be free. You know, that's just the way it is. And so,
yeah.
you know, same thing with like back in the day going from like 720p to 1080p to like 4K, and now we're kind of getting ready to do 8K streaming, right? Like I think there are already some shows that do 8K streaming. Back in the day, I
This thing
remember,
shoots
you know, well, yeah, like the what is that, the X4 or whatever? Um,
X5. It just came out.
like, oh, X5, that looks sick. That's a good one. The Insta 360
Yeah.
X5, it looks sick.
The,
Um,
the lens, you can break it and you're good. Like you can just replace it.
Yeah. And so think about it like that, right? That shoots 8K. Back in the day, like if you wanted 4K, you're paying like $1,000 for a camera, you know, or 1,000 plus, right? And now I think that X5 costs like a couple $100, like 250
I
bucks,
think
350, 300,
I think
you know?
the red camera was like 4 grand,
Yeah.
like 5 years ago or something.
And so you think of that, like it seems like as technology continues to evolve and as new technology, especially with like sustainable energy, artificial intelligence, robotics, you know, autonomy, like all these different technologies are converging all at the same time. The the risk of deflation, I think, is really what's gonna be our next kind of like headache going into, you know, the end of the decade. And
And don't get me wrong, I'm gonna be very happy for everyone because that's
yeah,
a win for everyone. I'm just wondering whether, like, am I wasting my time a little bit
I don't think you are. I don't
on
think you
biting
are.
the bullet? You know?
I think no. I think having assets is going to be critically important once we get to that point. Like you owning Tesla stock, me owning Tesla stock. Like I think having those kind of assets is going to be important. I don't think money will be meaningless for at least another 10 to 15, 20 years. Like I think money's still going to talk, right? However, I do think that a lot of goods and services are basically going to become free over the next 5, 10, 15 years. A lot of things that we pay for now is like a subscription or whatever monthly payment. Uh, I think that's going to be free. You know, like we used to pay for landlines. Nobody has a landline these days. You know, like just those kind of things. Especially as the AI infrastructure gets built out, as sustainable energy gets built out, as Robotaxi gets built out. Like we might almost be potentially driving, you know, begin driven around in a Robotaxi almost basically for free, just because
Yeah,
like economies of scale has enabled that, you know? And so at that point, you don't need money to pay for transportation. You don't need money to pay for internet. You don't need money to pay for food because like you know, robotics has scaled so much that it's able to kind of produce, harvest, and basically bring food to your doorstep for the, you know, fraction of a cost, and it's all powered by the sun, you know, like stuff like that. And so
yeah,
I think that that's where money will become a little less meaningful, but not completely meaningless. I think there's still going to be like a, you know, a method of trading, a method of kind of like exchanging goods for money and vice versa. So, um,
I think a beautiful thing is going to be people trying to find value in life. That
yeah,
I, even this road trip, watching the sunset, watching the
right.
trees, watching it drizzle a little, like that whole thing. I think sometimes people are just so disconnected from it, maybe even more connected to their phones or more connected to other things that have no real value, that once those our money means are basically met, all
Yeah,
those all these beautiful things are just going to be that much more meaningful for everyone, I feel.
I agree. I
Like
agree.
experiences with your family, like trips, things like that is just boom, just going to be way it's going to be heightened.
I think that's the promised land. I think that's the promised land, man. Like once all these technologies kind of scale and they get to a point where, yeah, basically almost everything is kind of free of charge, that's going to be the holy grail, the promised land
Every
of
time
just
you
being able to kind of.
every time you say technologies, I keep thinking the meme technology.
Oh, great! Now I'm going to think about it all the time.
Every time you said it, this whole podcast, when you said techno, I keep going
Yeah,
technology, technology.
hilarious.
Sorry to
That
cut
is
you off on
hilarious.
that. It
No,
just
you're
I
good.
had to say it. I had to say
That's
it.
hilarious. That's a good one. Oh
Um,
man,
hey, we went on a good rant this time around. Even though
dude.
I felt like there's still certain things we could have touched on. This was great.
Yeah. No, yeah, this was good, man. This was like a nice kind of like just. I mean, it had been what like a week and a half since we last spoke, so it was good to kind of
Yeah,
catch up on like everything and kind of get into like philosophical thoughts too. So
yeah.
it's good, man. It's good. Hopefully, we can
And the
kind of stay
change
more
of pace
consistent.
too.
Yeah.
You were at home this time, and I was in the car on FSD.
Yeah. Oh, that's a trip. Actually, I just noticed that we kind of flipped the script a little bit.
Yeah,
But the nice thing is, you're going on a trip to like a nice paradise in
it's
Tahoe, right? So
gonna be beautiful. That's why I brought this thing because I want to go and like just
yeah,
capture the beauty. Like the fact that this can capture the drive and make it even more amazing.
yeah,
I put it on my on Instagram and some people saw it and they were like, "Whoa, like that looks so beautiful." In my head, the thing I thought was I've recorded this many times before, but the fact
yeah.
that this was so much more cinematic, everyone was even more inclined to watch the video.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, yeah. Just because you get that full kind of
Like the
cinematic look, the 3D
clouds are
view.
clouds are
Yeah,
always beautiful, but with this, it was just more beautiful.
yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey man, well, really enjoyed our chat. Really looking forward to the next one. Enjoy Tahoe. I'm sure it's gonna be dope.
Yeah.
And then
Let's talk
yeah,
soon. Let's try talking sooner than later, and let's try to figure out a plan to go to the Tesla diner and make
yeah,
like a
yeah. I hope you don't get mad at me if I inadvertently go like Tuesday or Wednesday of next week.
if that's the case. Don't forget,
Yeah,
I if you wanna if you're gonna go with family or whatever, that's even you're better off or whatever. But hey,
yeah.
all the power to you. If you go, that's sick. Like I would never get mad at somebody going to experience something so dope. Like no way.
Oh man, yeah. I'll definitely send you pictures. I'm
Yes,
thinking of taking my daughter. I'm really kind of showing my daughter how to be, more into Tesla. So I'll show you pictures.
I got my brother-in-law into it. I remember when the Cybertruck came out, and he started like he went and he went and noticed that the Cybertruck was at a showroom, and he sent me pictures of it, and I was like, "Dang, I haven't even seen it in person. That's amazing."
That's cool. That's
Yeah, like
cool.
getting people the people close to you into Tesla is like it's so much fun because they kind
It
of get
is.
it. They
It
kind of
is.
get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, man. All right. Well, enjoy your trip and looking forward to hearing the memories.
Yeah, later, man. Peace.
Awesome. See ya.